Hi, Pastor Steve here. I want to thank you for listening today, and I want to encourage you because I know that God will truly bless you as you study His Word. So, hey, let's get started.
Hello, church family. Today we're going to be digging into Mark chapter 14. So if you have a Bible, open up there. And I want to encourage you to spend some time in Mark 14 today or this week. So much great content in the story of Jesus and the story and the build-up to the cross. You see crucial moments with His disciples, the Passover, the institution of the Lord's Supper, and Jesus praying in the garden, great things. But today we want to focus on two segments of Mark chapter 14. And so in verse 26 of Mark chapter 14, it said, "And when they had sung a hymn, they went out to the Mount of Olives, and Jesus said to them, 'You will all fall away, for it is written, I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep will be scattered. But after I am raised up, I will go before you to Galilee.' In verse 29, Peter said to him, 'Even though they all fall away, I will not.' And Jesus said to him, 'Truly I tell you, this very night before the rooster crows twice, you will deny me 3 times.' But he said," Peter, emphatically, "If I must die with you, I will not deny you." Peter, bold contradiction of Jesus' words here. Jesus says, "You're all going to abandon me. You're all going to scatter when I'm taken, when the shepherd is struck down." And Peter says, "No, I won't." And Jesus says, "I'm going to go a little bit further with you, Peter. Not only are you going to scatter, you're going to deny that you even know me." And Peter says, "I will literally die for you. That's what I'll do before I would ever do that." And Peter is passionate, and I love his passion. I love his vigor all through the scriptures that we see. But a little bit further on in chapter 14, we read what happens. And so in verse 66, it says, "As Peter was below the courtyard, one of the servant girls of the high priest came, and seeing Peter warming himself, she looked at him and said, 'You also were with the Nazarene, Jesus.' But he denied it, saying, 'I neither know nor understand what you mean.' And he went out into the gateway, and the rooster crowed. The servant girl saw him and began again to say to the bystanders, 'This man is one of them.' And again he denied it. And after a little while the bystanders again said to Peter, 'Certainly you are one of them, for you are a Galilean.' But he began to invoke a curse on himself and to swear, 'I do not know this man of whom you speak.' And immediately the rooster crowed a second time, and Peter remembered how Jesus had said to him, 'Before the rooster crows twice, you will deny me 3 times.' And he broke down and wept." Peter is placed in a position shortly after this conversation. Jesus has been arrested and taken away. The disciples have scattered, just as Jesus said. And he's put in a position where a servant girl is questioning whether or not he is one of Jesus' disciples, whether he's one of the people that follows Jesus. And when we think about the context and the culture here, you're talking about a 12 or a 13-year-old girl approaching a man who moments before pulled a sword and was trying to fight an entire army of people arresting Jesus. And to a girl asking if he's one of Jesus' followers, he denies that he knows him or understands even who she's talking about. Pressed 2 more times, he goes so far as to say, to swear, to call a curse on himself if he's not telling the truth. And then he hears the rooster crow and he remembers what Jesus says. In John's gospel, we see that there's an image of Jesus looking towards where Peter was when this takes place. And Peter falling and weeping. Betrayal of a friend, not keeping a commitment. I think we've all experienced some form of sting in that way. I remember in the movie Braveheart when they're fighting, William Wallace had worked out a battle plan, Robert the Bruce and some others, and And when he got to the position where he was going to call in the troops to come from the other side and flank the enemy, and he waved the flag, he saw them all turning their horses and leaving. And the look on his face of betrayal, of utter, disappointment that someone had not done what they said they were going to do, that they had let you down. And I think it's easy for us to connect ourselves to this story and say, boy, if I would have told Jesus this is what I would have done. But how often do we deny Jesus with our lives and our actions? How often are we not obedient to the things that we've said we're going to do, and we just don't take it seriously? Peter here comes to terms with what has taken place, and he falls weeping. He recognizes his betrayal, and through the scriptures we see Peter experience grace and the change that comes from that in him. That Peter leads the charge, and that no longer is he cowering or fearful or afraid. Rather, he is bold because of Jesus, to where he will stand in front of the same people that he was afraid of and deny Jesus, and he will claim that you can tell us not to speak of what we've seen and heard, but we can't help but speak of speaking of what we've seen and heard. Even if you kill us, we'll keep speaking until you do. A change in Peter, and that same change can happen in us. We can, through the experience of grace, be changed by the Spirit to grow in our boldness, to grow in our effectiveness, to grow to continue to keep the commitments that we've made to the Lord and to be obedient to Him. Braveheart ends after William Wallace dies. You see Robert the Bruce, the one that left him behind on the battlefield and betrayed him, pick up the mantle and start fighting the same cause as he experienced regret. He does not allow his regret to turn into a guilt or shame that debilitates. Rather, it is something that that conviction inspires a change. And this is what God does for us. He does not leave us to wallow in our guilt or our shame. Rather, He has paid the penalty and the price for all of our guilt and our shame. And when He brings conviction, says, I'm going to put you back up on your feet and set you back to work because I have things for you to do and plans for your life. And Peter's a beautiful picture of this story as we look at this in chapter 14, of a man who had firm convictions, firm commitments, failed, but God was not done with him and put him back to work. Have a great day.
Thanks again for listening today. We'd love to hear from you. If you'd like more information about our church, or if you just want to share what God's been doing in your life, drop us a line. Give us a call. Again, may God bless you.